So the first thing, the topic of determining whether two functions are inverses of one another, the first thing they want you to do is to plug, this notation says plug g of x, which is this formula here, 3 over x, plug that into the function f. Okay, so f of g of x means plug g into f. So here, let's write out f. F, I'll color code this a little bit. Here's f. It's 3 over x. But now instead of x, I'm going to put the function g in its place because that's what the notation says to do. It says to plug one into the other. So here's my function g. Oh, it's 3 over x. It's the same thing. That's kind of confusing, huh? There's that function g. I just wrote the fraction a little bit to the side. And so now we got to simplify to see what that is. This is kind of tricky to look at, but if you write it with division, that's 3 divided by 3 over x, right? Because that's a division symbol right there. And when we divide two things, if one of them is a fraction, we just flip and multiply. So 3 over 1 times x over 3. The 3's cross cancel and leaves us with just x. So that means f and g are inverses of one another. Okay, because two functions are inverses of one another. If you can plug one function into the other function and get out the identity, x. Okay, so let's see that again in another way. They want us to do g of f of x. So I kind of wrote that small so you can see that one's getting plugged into the other. So here's my function g. They're the same actually, aren't they? 3 over x, that's my function g. But then they tell me instead of putting x into the function g, I need to replace x with the function f of x. So f of x, that's also 3 over x. Okay, so if it's still confusing, hang in there. The next one might make more sense because they're slightly different. You might be able to spot what's going on. But this is saying 3 divide by 3 over x. I'm going to write that with different notation. 3 divide by 3 over x. And now if you flip and multiply, and again we put a 1 under here because turning 3 into a fraction, it's the same thing as 3 over 1. Flip and multiply, these cross cancel, leaves you with just x. Okay, so that's what you put here, x, x, and then you say that they're inverses because you get that identity function out when you plug one into the other. Okay, let's check out the other side. I don't think these are going to be inverses. The first one they want us to do is f of g of x. So this means I'm going to start with the function f. It's 4x plus 3. I'm going to give myself some room because instead of x, I'm not writing f of x. I'm supposed to be writing f of g of x. So where I see the domain variable of f, I'm going to replace it with the function g. And g is, no, make sure you use the parentheses, 4x minus 3. Okay? And now if we simplify, you distribute that 4 to everything. That's 16x minus 12. 16x minus 9. Okay? They're non-inverses. We didn't get just x. We got 16x minus 9. That's what you plug in there. Now if we're to do the reverse, and we start with the function g. Sorry, my computer sounds like it's about to blow up. It's overheating, I think, for the video. So start with the function g, which is 4x minus, oh, that's confusing because I used green for f of x last time. Hold on. I said g is blue, some sort of blue. I don't remember what I clicked. G is 4x minus 3. But then instead of x, I'm supposed to put f of x. So instead of this, I'm supposed to put f of x. I'm going to write f of x in there. 4x plus 3. Now we can do our usual math tricks. A number in front of a parentheses means you're supposed to multiply that number to everything inside the parentheses. So we get 16x plus 9. Here, and then you check off that they're not inverses because we didn't get the identity function.